Hey people, it is Friday, November the 3rd. The time is 4:50 in the afternoon. It's currently 13 degrees Celsius and quite windy. And I am at the foot of Yonge Street here, down near where it meets Harbor Street and Queens Quay. And we're looking up at a rising super tall skyscraper. This is called One Yonge. And this building will be referred to as the Sky Tower. And it was just announced today that this has been recommended for approval by the planning department here in Toronto for an extension in its height from 95 stories up to 105 stories, which will make it by far the tallest building in Canada. So that is 1,131 feet, or 344.58 meters in height. So that'll be equal in height to the revolving restaurant at the CN Tower. So they applied for this height increase over a year ago or so. It was previously approved at 95 stories, but it looks like it will most likely now end up being a 105-story building. As you can see right now, it is just about 10 or 12 floors up, but this is just the beginning. And also, as part of that recommendation for approval, a neighboring tower, phase 3, which has not yet begun construction, will also get a height increase, which will bring it up over the 300 meter mark, which will make it also a super tall. So there will be two super tall skyscrapers here at the foot of Yonge Street when all is said and done. And that is the theme of this walk today. I'm going to be walking along downtown Yonge, starting from here near Harbor Street to up past Bloor Street, and I'll be checking out all the skyscraper developments that are taking place along Yonge Street right now. Of course, another super tall skyscraper is under construction at the corner of Yonge and Bloor, which was recently placed into receivership, so we'll be talking about that one a bit later on once I get up to that area. But between here and there are a number of other skyscrapers underway and many more proposed. So I will be showing them all to you and talking about them as I make my way north. And I think a water main replacement is underway here. And a few buildings don't have a Yonge Street address, but they're literally just right off of Yonge Street, such as you can see right over here. That is phase 2 of CIBC Square. It has a Bay Street address, but it's obviously going to be towering over Yonge Street as well. And that will be a 50-story office tower of about 240 meters in height. Get out of this construction zone. Although most of downtown Toronto is one big construction zone, obviously. Take a little detour here onto the Esplanade. And we can get another look at phase 2 of CIBC Square. It will be basically a twin of phase 1 right next door, which you can see right there. Just slightly taller and oriented in the opposite direction as the first phase. Looks like they might be extending the crane here. It's a new segment of tower crane by the looks of it. As the building rises, the crane gets extended. And here is L Tower, one of the many already existing skyscrapers along Yonge. But we'll just be talking about the under construction or proposed ones that are likely to be built. Alright, we're at Yonge in front. And the sun is getting low in the sky. But I'm walking north, so I won't have to deal with that.
Anyways, that was that.
And now there are a couple of proposals up ahead before we get to the next under construction building. Some of them have notices posted on the existing buildings. So I'll be keeping an eye out for those development signs on the sides of various buildings as we make our way north. And way off in the distance, you can actually see the under construction One Bloor West, called The One. And major dust being kicked up here. As I mentioned, it's very windy. So right on this corner here of Yonge and Wellington, the old embassy, Irish Embassy Pub and Grill, there's a proposal for a building here that will incorporate the old building but be built on top. I don't see a development notice though. I do see one over here. Let's see if this is for the same project. So this one is a 66-story proposal of 236.2 meters. But I think that is adjacent to another proposal right on the corner. I think there's a proposal for a 60-story building right on the corner where the Irish embassy is. But it will have a very close and tall neighbor if both of those do end up getting built. Looks like I have no choice but to run across the street here. This has been ongoing for upwards of a year now here. Just throwing pedestrians out into traffic here. I'm going to try to stay on this side of Yonge Street though. See, it's not a very good situation at all here.
You might have heard.
Like, why in the world would they think this is acceptable? I guess you're just supposed to cross the street and then run back across again once you've gone a bit further. And here's another development proposal here. This one is not a skyscraper. It's an addition to an existing building, an historic office building. We'll stick to just talking about the true skyscrapers, which are buildings of at least 500 feet or 150 meters in height. So here's King Street. And as usual, a cyclist just decides to go through the red light and almost run into some pedestrians.
Oh, that's a zero header? That'd be kind of bad. Yeah. Oh.
Now the next two under construction skyscrapers are just north of Dundas. And more construction, wouldn't you know it. They're upgrading the streetcar tracks here on Adelaide. Once upon a time, this was considered a skyscraper when it was first constructed well over 100 years ago.
Every single one. They're not earning off it.
If you think you're going to drive through downtown Toronto without getting inconvenienced by other traffic, you're going to have a bad time. So blowing your horn isn't really going to help matters any. But people just do it constantly anyway. This is Richmond Street.
Ben.
Well, at least they were walking the bikes on the sidewalk and not riding them.
I don't know where the museum.
Did a great job restoring this old building. Corner of Yonge and Queen. I was wondering where that music was coming from. Some nincompoop is riding along on a scooter on the sidewalk with a huge speaker on the back of his scooter, as if he's doing everyone a favor. It's like, I don't really want to hear it, buddy, but if you think that's fun, then I guess knock yourself out. It's crossing Shooter Street. More road work here. This wasn't happening last time I walked through the area. Now approaching Yonge and Dundas. And more loud music blarers over there, hanging out on the sidewalk. I noticed from watching other walktubers walk around other cities that this is not a much of a problem in other places as it is here. In Toronto, people just love to blare music needlessly all over the place. Storefronts, people walking along with their own speakers, people cycling with external speakers, people just sitting on the sidewalks with loudspeakers. I'm not sure what it is about this place, where everyone seems to want to let everyone else know what they're listening to. All right, we're almost at the next skyscraper construction site. Just a couple of blocks north of Dundas here. A crane was just recently erected for the next tower on the tour. Now let's have to do at least one little pan around of Yonge and Dundas.
That way is the big store. We got to check it out. I think we're going first to buy or wait. You want to buy it? Oh, yeah. I was talking to him because he was like, yo, you sure?
It's like, I'm so excited for this.
So that girl had to walk on the street to not get caught up in the crowds here on the sidewalk. And you can see the big crane right up ahead. So we'll be crossing the street right here. If I can get past yet more loud blaring music here. Let me run across.
Yes, Mario, me da mucho gusto que ya.
And here we are. So this is called 8 Elm Street. And it's still mostly a hole in the ground, but it will eventually rise to become a 69-story skyscraper of 716 feet, or 218.20 meters in height. It will be extremely visible and tall from Yonge and Dundas. It'll probably block out the view of Aura here from that corner, actually. And the design of that building is quite striking. It might actually be a nicer building to see from Yonge and Dundas than the Aura. But just across the street, You can see multiple cranes here. This will be a 299 meter skyscraper of 85 stories called Concord Sky. So that's 981 feet. Just shy of Supertall status by 1 meter. 1 measly meter. But you can see a rendering there of the building. And also from Yonge and Dundas, that will be towering over the whole area. It will look extremely tall because the skinnier side of the building will be facing towards Yonge and Dundas, which will make it look even taller.
Oh, I know.
All right, let's cross back over again. So here's the current tallest building on Yonge Street, the Aura. That's 78 stories, 274 meters. But not for much longer.
Like 3 generations of the family would be bankrupt.
Oh my god.
If not more.
You can see right here on the corner, across from Concord Sky, another very tall tower is proposed. 76 stories. And I think the height has been increased to 252 meters from the 240 meters posted here. But that one is not yet underway. It might be a while before we see some progress on that project. And for the next several blocks, there are a number of very tall proposals on this side of Yonge Street. All of them well over 50 or 60 stories in height. I believe this older office tower is among them. There's a proposal to redevelop that with a 66-story tower.
Okay, that's this crap.
Approaching Yonge and Carleton College on the other side.
Just your leg. Thank you.
آره متوجه آره متوجه حالا خیلی جا اوکی
It's College Park. Here on the corner, this older building with the Shoppers Drug Mart at the base. There's a proposal for a 73-story tower of 824 feet, or 251 meters. But as of now, it's just a proposal. And the site of this Courtyard Marriott is also a possible future new skyscraper. 78 stories, 255 meters, or over 830 feet in height. We'll see how many of these actually get built. Yonge Street will become like a canyon of very tall skyscrapers if these actually do become reality. And I think I see the development notice for this one here on the hotel. So this shows a twin tower development here, 75 and 78 stories, but I think that has been altered since this original proposal was brought forward. It might be just a single tower now. This is a relatively new building, not a skyscraper though, not tall enough to qualify. And some more new buildings. This one is a skyscraper, but not extremely tall. Just barely makes it past skyscraper status. The Line 1 subway. And now we can get a good look at the future Supertall at Yonge and Bloor up ahead. Before we get there, you can see a building here on the left rising. That is on Wellesley Street, but just right off of Yonge. That is called 10 Wellesley, and that's a 55-story condo, or it will be a 55-story condo of 598 feet, or 182 meters in height. So it will be very close in height to its neighbor, Wellesley on the Park.
Literally.
We're just about at Yonge and Wellesley now. So it's a pretty good looking building so far. I like the cladding. And walking towards the one, and you can see another tower rising behind it a bit lower down. That's also a soon-to-be skyscraper a bit off of Yonge Street. There are a number of proposals on both sides of Yonge here before we get to Bloor of some very tall towers. A 75-story building and a 57-story building and a 76-story building are all planned for the blocks between here and Charles Street on both sides of Yonge. These are all just currently proposals. And also a 64-story building, so quite a few actually. And we're getting close though to the controversial building on the corner of Yonge and Bloor that was recently placed into receivership. You get a good view from here. That will be 91 stories if it does eventually get completed. Construction has not stopped despite being placed into receivership. The building is continuing its regular construction schedule. I think a new floor was just poured today actually. So it hasn't slowed down at all yet. Hopefully it stays that way and eventually reaches its full 91-story height. That's 1,077 feet, or 328.4 meters. So that will make it the second tallest building in Toronto after the Sky Tower at the beginning of the video, which now will most likely rise to the 105 stories. And the building behind One Yonge that I pointed out is well on its way. I think that will be a 62-story building when completed, 609 feet, 213 meters.
Now you're suffering.
And right next door to that, another building is under construction, which is just a hole in the ground, which will be slightly taller at 68 stories. 215 meters. or 708 feet. But I can see my camera is in the red before I even made it all the way to Yonge and Bloor. So I'm going to start to wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed the skyscraper tour of Yonge Street from the south end near Harbor Street all the way up to Yonge and Bloor. And you gotta love when people just stand in a big crowd in the middle of the sidewalk, right? So we passed by a number of under construction skyscrapers which will transform the downtown's main street, and many more proposals of which a good percentage will most likely get built. So leave a comment down below if you enjoyed the walk, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and also make sure you hit the notification bell. And if you'd like to support the channel, there are links in the description where you can do so via PayPal as well as via my merch store, or you can become a channel member, or you can support the channel through a super thanks also. You can find me on Instagram under K Continuum. So thanks for watching, and be sure to keep checking back, because as always, I will continue.